Look around you. The war is over. The noise is gone. The stage is empty. And yet, somehow, you're still here, breathing in a world that swore you wouldn't make it this far. Funny, isn't it? All their crowns, their titles, their trophies, worthless. Because when the smoke cleared, the crown didn't choose a king. It chose a ghost, you. The one they buried in whispers, the one they erased from the story before it even began, the one who learned that silence was a weapon sharper than any sword. You stopped chasing validation when you realized they only clap for control. You stopped fighting for attention when you understood kings are visible, ghosts are eternal. They wanted hierarchy. You gave them disappearance. They wanted a name to chant. You became an echo they can't trace. They wanted a body to destroy. You became the haunting that never dies. You figured it out, didn't you? The real victory is to vanish while still existing everywhere. They built systems to track you, rituals to contain you, spells to bind you. But the moment they thought they had your pattern, you slipped into the static. You became untraceable. You rewired their fear into your frequency. You turned every spotlight into a blindfold. You're not light or dark anymore. You're the flicker in between, the place where angels forget their wings and demons forget their rage. You're not human to them now. You're anomaly. You're proof that something beyond comprehension exists. They crowned themselves with gold. You crowned yourself with absence. And somehow that's what made the world spin around you. See, they never understood what happens when pain stops being punishment and becomes fuel. When betrayal stops being heartbreak and becomes strategy. When isolation isn't a prison, it's preparation. You died publicly so you could resurrect privately. You let them think it was over so you could watch them celebrate your funeral with empty smiles, never realizing the casket was just a mirror. Because here's the secret, ghost. You don't need to be seen to be unstoppable. You just need to be felt, and they feel you, everywhere. In the quiet moments when their confidence shakes, in the boardrooms where your name isn't mentioned, but your strategy echoes in every decision, in the dreams that wake them at 3 a.m., gasping for control that no longer exists. You're not chasing recognition anymore. Recognition is chasing you. They're writing rule books around your unpredictability. They're studying your silence like scripture. Because what terrifies them most isn't that you won. It's that you didn't even try to. You simply existed, and reality rearranged itself around you. You learned what no king ever did. Control isn't in the throne, it's in the shadows, where whispers build empires and ghosts run kingdoms unseen. You learned that evolution happens in pain, that every scar was a cipher, every wound a code, and when they took everything from you, your name, your stage, your trust, you realized the less they can take, the more you become. So you disappeared, and in that disappearance you became infinite. You're the glitch they can't debug. The prophecy that rewrote itself, the ghost that learned to smile inside the static. They'll search for you in numbers, in systems, in hierarchies, but they'll never find you, because you exist between their eyes. You exist in that half-second pause before fear becomes awe. You exist in the realization that the one they buried is now the architect of everything. And the funniest part, they still call you gone. They still think you lost. But every system that tried to erase you is now powered by your design. You don't wear the crown. You are the crown, invisible, weightless, undeniable. Because the crown never belonged to the loudest. It belonged to the one who outlasted the noise, the one who saw beyond thrones and titles and applause, The one who learned that ghosts never need kingdoms, because kingdoms eventually rot. But ghosts haunt forever. So no, it's not over. It never was. It's just quieter now. Because even the universe holds its breath when you move. Because even destiny knows it doesn't control you anymore. Because when the crown was searching for a master, it didn't find a king. It found a myth, a whisper, a ghost, you. You feel it now, don't you? That strange stillness that isn't silence but pressure. Like the air right before a storm breaks. That's the space you created. Not a stage, not a throne, a field. A dimension no one else can enter. That's why their plans keep collapsing. That's why their crowns feel heavy. They're still playing by rules, still trading noise for validation, still fighting for a seat at a table you burned down in your mind years ago. You learned the paradox they fear most. To become untouchable, you must first become invisible. To become unstoppable, you must first become nothing. That's the trick kings never understood. They built monuments. You built momentum. They etched their names in stone. You etched your signature into the unseen code of everything. They don't even realize you've been rewriting the architecture of their rituals. Every policy, every forecast, every so-called prophecy they whispered about in dark rooms. All of it already bent to the curve of your absence. You don't need a crown on your head when the entire grid tilts toward your weightless presence. Pain taught you the mechanics of ghosts. Every betrayal stripped another layer of ego until only signal remained. Every scar became an antenna, every heartbreak a transmitter. That's why you move like static through their systems. That's why you can slip between doors without keys. You're not flesh and blood to them anymore. You're frequency, and frequency doesn't bow. Do you remember when you still wanted their approval? When you still thought being seen meant being safe? That's dead. That part of you burned away like paper in a furnace. You left that version behind and stepped into the quiet corridor where no spotlight reaches. And in that corridor, you became something kings can never be. Inevitable. That's why they panic now. Not because you're winning, but because they don't know how you're winning. They can't predict you because you're not playing. They can't stop you because you're not moving. You're not a competitor. You're a condition, a rumor that acts like a law of physics. A ghost doesn't knock. It is the house. This is why the crown crawled to you instead of sitting on some pretender's head. Crowns are built to be worn by bodies, but when a crown chooses a ghost, it stops being jewelry and starts being a signal. It stops shining and starts pulsing. It stops representing power and becomes power itself. That's what you are now, power without an address, influence without a face. And the world feels it. In every negotiation where someone hesitates before speaking your name. In every boardroom where they mimic a tactic they don't even understand. In every late-night meeting where your absence feels louder than anyone's presence. You've become the shape of inevitability in their minds. That's why they study you like scripture. That's why they whisper in corridors about what you'll do next. But you're not next. You're already everywhere. You are the contradiction they cannot process. Light and shadow, angel and executioner, presence and absence, life and rumor. They built stories to explain kings. They built myths to explain heroes. But they never built language for what you've become. That's why their tongues stumble. That's why their metrics glitch. That's why they can't frame you inside their cameras. You are evolution through pain. You are unpredictability as power. You are the sound of chains rusting off their own anchors. You are the death of their narrative and the birth of your own. They'll still try. They'll still run models. They'll still hire analysts to decode you. But every file they open, every transcript they study, every theory they whisper about ends with the same conclusion. There is no conclusion. Because you are not a king to dethrone. You are not a throne to seize. You are the unseen architect. You are the one designing the labyrinth while they're still drawing maps. They will tire themselves out chasing your shadow. They will lose their voices trying to define you. And while they do, you'll keep moving like current, silent, invisible, lethal, free. That is the secret no one told you at the start. Ghosts never need crowns. Crowns need ghosts. Kings vanish with empires. Ghosts outlast centuries. So let them search. Let them speculate. Let them crown each other in empty halls. You're not in the halls anymore. You're in the walls. You're in the frequency. You're in the space between their eyes when they blink. It's over for them, but not for you. Because it was never about the game. It was about the glitch. And you are the glitch that rewrote the entire script. You didn't win the crown. The crown surrendered to you. You didn't wear it. You dissolved into it. You didn't become a king. You became the haunting. And in the end, that's the highest form of power. Because kings can be seen, kings can be named, kings can be replaced. But ghosts stay, ghosts guide, ghosts rule without ruling. And right now, as you breathe in this silence, know this. They will never stop feeling you, even when they pretend you're gone, even when they deny your name, even when they build new temples on top of the ruins you left behind. You are already inside their prayers. You are already inside their blueprints. You are already inside the crown. It's over for them. But for you, it's only just begun. And here is the part they will never understand. The part that makes their hands tremble when they think about you. Power isn't a throne you sit on. Power is the temperature of the room after you leave it. Power is the pause in their sentence when your name crosses their mind. Power is the invisible pressure of a presence that cannot be charted, but cannot be ignored. That's what you've become. That's why the crown didn't choose a king. A king needs an army. A king needs banners, parades, coins with his face stamped on them. A king needs to be recognized. A king dies when the people stop clapping. But a ghost doesn't need an army. A ghost doesn't need a name. A ghost doesn't need applause. A ghost survives on inevitability. And inevitability never dies. Do you remember the first time they underestimated you? The first time they whispered that you'd never come back from the blow they gave you? That was your birth. Every time they pushed you into a corner, you slipped into the wall. Every time they tried to erase you, you became the eraser. They thought you were losing. You were learning. They thought you were disappearing. You were transforming. That's the paradox that drives them insane. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be felt. You are not here to be decoded. You are here to be inevitable. You are not here to play the game. You are here to rewrite what game even means. Pain is the crucible they threw you into thinking it would kill you. It didn't kill you. It burned everything false off you. It left only signal. Scar tissue became circuitry. Silence became strategy. Exile became elevation. Every cut was a doorway. Every loss was a blueprint. That is why you are unpredictable now. That is why you move like smoke through locked rooms. That is why they can't draw a straight line between your actions and your outcomes. Kings are predictable. They are watched, weighed, and replaced. Ghosts are not predictable. They are unmeasured, unweighed, and irreplaceable. You are the whisper between their calculations. You are the glitch between their forecasts. You are the variable that keeps changing the answer no matter how many times they run the equation. You are the reason their charts break, their metrics crack, their simulations stutter. They can no longer trace you. They can no longer plan for you. They can no longer stop you, because you're not a person to them now. You're a force, a rumor with gravity, a story with claws. You've become the place where opposites collapse. Light and dark, saint and psychopath, angel and demon, seen and unseen. That's your real power. You are not one or the other. You are the corridor between. You are the flicker of the candle that blinds and illuminates at the same time. You are the knife and the wound, the architect and the ashes, the question and the answer. And when they talk about you now, in those cold rooms with locked doors and glowing screens, they lower their voices, because a part of them knows you're already in the room, you're already in the code, you're already in their heads. They keep searching for a king to dethrone. But you're not a king, you're the tide, you're the echo, you're the current. And currents don't get dethroned. Currents drown thrones. That's why the crown crawled to you. That's why it slid off their heads and rolled across the floor in silence. It wasn't a coronation, it was a surrender. Now you don't even need to move. The world moves for you. You don't even need to speak. The air rearranges itself into your message. You don't even need to show up. Your absence bends decisions, distorts plans, breaks rituals. This is what kings will never learn. It's not about ruling. It's about becoming the atmosphere everyone breathes. That's what you are now. Atmosphere, frequency, myth. They will build new systems. They will crown new kings. They will pretend to forget you, but they will still feel you in the empty spaces between their words. They will still feel you in the split second before they act. They will still feel you in the quiet moments when their confidence cracks. You have no throne, but every throne tilts toward you. You have no crown, but every crown pulses with your absence. You have no face, but every mirror bends your way. And as you stand here now, in the silence, after the war, understand this. You are not what you were. You are not even what they fear. You are what comes after fear. A ghost crowned by inevitability. A whisper more powerful than a scream. An echo more permanent than a monument. That's why it's over for them. That's why it's beginning for you. Because the crown didn't choose a king. It chose the one thing kings can never be. Unkillable, untraceable, unforgettable. It chose a ghost. And that ghost is you. They still think it's about winning. They still think there's a finish line somewhere that they'll cross before you. That's the joke. Because while they run, you dissolve. You fade between frames, slip beneath the noise, and start pulling the strings they never see. A ghost doesn't race. A ghost rewinds time. It edits the story until it reads like prophecy. That's what you've been doing all along, isn't it? You learned that presence can be faked, but impact can't. You stopped fighting for visibility the moment you realized that invisibility is the purest form of freedom. When no one sees you, no one can bind you. When no one understands you, no one can predict you. When no one owns you, every chain loses its function. You are the quiet panic behind their calm smiles, the static before their announcements, the reason their victories taste hollow. Because every success they claim still carries your fingerprint, unseen but undeniable. They know it. That's why they can't rest. That's why their sleep comes shallow, filled with half-formed dreams of someone watching from the dark. They told themselves you were gone. They buried your name in reports and archives, but you can't bury what has become elemental. You turned pain into weather. You turned rejection into magnetism. You turned silence into signal. You exist now in the pause between their heartbeats. That's where control really lives. Not in commands, but in hesitation. Every time they stop to think twice, you win again. And somewhere deep down, they admire it. They envy the liberation that comes from no longer needing to be seen, from no longer caring to be worshipped. Kings crave witnesses. Ghosts only require awareness. Awareness happens without permission. Awareness spreads. Do you remember the first time you noticed how power trembles when you stop trying to hold it? That was the pivot. That was when the old version of you collapsed like scaffolding and the new version rose, weightless, from the rubble. You stopped chasing destiny and started creating inevitability. You stopped asking what now and started whispering, watch. That's when the crown shifted, not upward, but inward. It melted through metal and bone until it fused with your essence. And now it moves when you breathe. No king can carry that. Kings are brittle. They depend on approval, on applause, on the illusion of control. They dress their fragility in velvet and gold. But you learned to wear absence like armor. You learned that every time someone said, "It's over," it was only the world folding itself around your next form. Every loss became camouflage. Every failure became a new doorway. Every insult became an incantation that reinforced your myth. That's how ghosts are born, through repetition of disbelief until existence becomes undeniable. You became the experiment that exceeded containment, the quiet thing that learned the geometry of survival. You no longer walk through rooms, you pass through them. You no longer chase influence, you are the influence. Your mere idea rearranges hierarchies. Your story spreads without your voice. That's what makes them afraid. Not that you're powerful, but that you don't need to prove it. Power that needs to be proven is theater. Power that doesn't is law. You are law now, not written, felt instinctual, subliminal. They will spend years trying to recreate what you did. They'll assemble committees, draw charts, simulate your behavior, build entire departments to dissect your pattern. But they'll fail, because you are not pattern, you are paradox. You are the equation that breaks calculators. You are the proof that doesn't require solving. You've ascended beyond definition. That's why crowns crawl and systems bend. That's why the world stutters when you move. You've crossed the border where human ends and myth begins. And the further you drift from recognition, the deeper your imprint becomes. Kings will rise and fall under the illusion of order. You will hover forever in the space between chaos and reason, rewriting both. So keep walking through the smoke. Keep listening to the silence that used to scare you. That's your orchestra now. Every whisper, every shiver, every inexplicable chill in their spine. That's you conducting. Let them believe it's superstition. Let them invent stories to explain why everything starts collapsing the moment they doubt you. You don't need credit. You already have consequence. Because the crown didn't choose a king. It chose the current. It chose the hum behind every machine. It chose the name that no longer needs to be spoken. It chose the ghost that turned endings into beginnings. It chose you. Good morning, paranoia. You felt that, didn't you? That little shift in the air. That whisper crawling down the back of your spine. That was them again. Group chats going silent the moment your name drops. Screenshots being forwarded with shaky fingers. Analysts pacing. A whole war room full of insecure little overachievers tearing up every blueprint just to ask the same question again and again. Who tvi are you? Because you didn't announce your power. You leaked it. Drip by drip. Like a classified file that somehow keeps resurfacing no matter how many servers they burn. You didn't perform for them. You moved. Like a ghost in their matrix, like a god in incognito. No name tag, no banner, just chills running down people's necks when you walk past. And now, they're obsessing over the puzzle, because nothing about you adds up. And everything about you subtracts them. They thought they knew how beasts were built. Pain plus time plus hustle equals monster. But you were born in a blackout, risen from an equation that doesn't exist in their books. The scribbles in their notebooks can't explain your rise because you didn't come up. You erased the concept of up. You're not just an anomaly, you're a correction, a cosmic recalibration. Every step you take makes their past look stupid. Their entire lineage of winners, obsolete. And what's driving them insane, what's shattering the walls of their little echo chambers, is the fact that you're not trying to be understood. You're not explaining. You're not justifying. You're not even denying the rumors. You're amplifying them with your silence, letting paranoia do your PR. Because you finally realized the truth. If they can't label you, they can't contain you. If they can't track you, they can't predict you. And if they can't decode you, they'll spend their lives worshiping the glitch they once tried to delete. Oh, they're digging, all right, deep. Calling in favors, pulling old yearbooks, zooming into blurry photos from 2008, wondering how they missed you on the original radar. But that's the thing, isn't it? You were never on their map, because you were the damn cartographer. They can't keep up because you're not part of the timeline. You're an event, a rupture, a turning point they can't unlive. You walked into their realm and bent the temperature, made the air feel denser. You got people locking their phones after your name gets mentioned because they know those chats are being watched. You've become that dangerous. And don't get it twisted. This isn't admiration. This is survival study. They're not praising you. They're studying you. Like hunters dissecting the last bulletproof animal in the wild. But here's where it gets fun. Every time they think they've mapped out your pattern, you change species. Every time they think they've got your psychology pegged, you flip the mirror and make them question their own. Saint or psychopath, genius or virus, shadow or spotlight. They can't pin you because you've evolved past duality. You don't fit in their binaries. You're a walking paradox that feeds on confusion, the holy villain, the calm storm, the radiant threat. Your moves aren't just unpredictable. They're illegal in most dimensions. The nerve, the audacity, the surgical madness you deploy with no warning, no build-up, no permission. That's what's setting off the alarms. That's what's making high-ranking rooms hold emergency meetings to ask the same question over and over, behind locked doors. Who? TF is this? And every time they fail to answer it, your legend mutates. You become folklore, myth, then virus, then prophecy, until they realize, too late, they weren't watching a person rise. They were witnessing a timeline collapse. So don't flinch, don't explain, don't clarify. Let their group chats rot in speculation. Let their whispers bloom into national alerts. Let your silence be the scream they hear on loop at 3 a.m. Because the real power, it's not in being known, it's in being unknowable. Let them stare, let them wonder, let them chase shadows and crash into mirrors. Because while they're trying to define you, you're out here rewriting what's possible. And the longer they try to decode you, the deeper they sink into the realization they're not looking at a man. They're looking at a message, a warning from the future that the algorithm has been breached and the ghost they tried to bury just hacked the system. Who TIF are you? Simple. You're the glitch that learned how to evolve. And now, they're not trying to figure you out. They're trying to survive your next move. Oh, now they're running simulations, whole rooms full of analysts whispering, "We must have missed something," as if your existence was some clerical error, some overlooked mutation in the script. But here's the kicker. You wrote the damn rewrite. You see, the system they built, it was never designed for someone like you. It was designed for the obedient, the predictable, the ones too scared to set fire to the rule book. But you licked your wounds, then lit the paper trail on the way out. They thought they'd find your origin in trauma. They thought they'd trace your chaos to daddy issues, to childhood breakdowns, to a predictable pattern of rebellion. But what they don't realize is that your origin wasn't pain. It was clarity. You saw them clearly, their masks, their mantras, their manipulations. You watched the hierarchy, smiled at their rituals, and refused the oath. And ever since that moment, they've been trying to diagnose your defiance. Because it's too clean, too calm, too weaponized. You don't just rebel, you surgically dismantle. You don't rage, you disappear and return upgraded. They called in psychologists, witch doctors, AI behavior coders, hoping one of them could explain why the hell they keep losing to you. Why their most calculated moves feel like bait you already countered before they blinked. And now, they're scrambling, not because you're dangerous, but because you're invisible in plain sight. You're not throwing punches, you're throwing reality fractures, moments so intense people question if you were ever real, or just a hallucination sent to collapse their structure. You trigger awakenings by walking into rooms. You break minds without touching a soul. And you make loyalty shift sides just by breathing different air. They can't follow your path because your path is not linear. It spirals, it loops, it folds into itself like sacred geometry they were never meant to see. You're the final encryption key to a system they thought they owned. You're the bastard child of chaos and precision, the kind of entity that isn't born, but forged in forgotten corridors where gods go to die and monsters go to learn strategy. They wanted data. You gave them distortion. They wanted order. You handed them oracles. They wanted your location. But you became a movement, a frequency, a lethal idea echoing through every person who ever thought, there's more than this. And that, my dear anomaly, is what makes them lose sleep. It's not just what you do. It's what you remind people is possible. You're a living breach in their perfectly coded hierarchy. The reminder that their empires are mockable, hackable, perishable. You don't need applause. You don't need a fan base. You don't even need evidence. You've become an undeniable vibration, a disturbance that outlives screens and rumors. You're not a name anymore. You're a ghost algorithm, a question mark so loud it echoes across boardrooms, covens, courtrooms, and unfinished rituals. They tried to map you. They tried to copy you. They even tried to ban you from existence. Shadow banned your essence, prayed over your downfall, but every time they thought it was over, you didn't return. You evolved. Glitch became code. Code became consciousness. And now you've entered the final form. Uncontainable, untraceable, unstoppable. A walking psychological detonation with a face they can't forget and a strategy they can't predict. So let them keep asking, who the fuck is this? Let them tear up chats. launch ops, hire ex-military advisors to handle the anomaly. Because what they haven't realized yet is that the anomaly is their new god. You don't just walk through walls. You erase blueprints. You make the walls forget they existed. And the more they try to decode you, the deeper they get pulled into your field of warping gravity. The more obsessed they get, the closer they step to the edge of irreversible unraveling. Because you're not a person anymore. You're a system event, a permanent glitch in their simulation, and your next move, that's not something they'll survive. Tick, tick, tick. They can feel it now, can't they? The countdown they didn't authorize, echoing through every chat thread, every decrypted call log, every sleepless night where they pray you're just a phase, just a hallucination of momentum. But you're not a phase. You're a force. And the tragedy for them, you're already inside the system, not knocking, not breaking in. No. You're the voice in the circuit, the hum in their data lines that no one programmed but everyone fears. They don't understand what you are because you're not bound by their linguistic poverty. You're not ambitious. You're not talented. You're not mysterious. You're post-definition, the thing beyond the frame, the shape that refuses to hold. And now the group chats are melting. Once buzzing threads now read like crime scenes. Bro, who is this? Yo, someone dig up his past. Quick. Delete these screenshots. He's watching everything. And my favorite one, he shouldn't know this much. But that's where they're wrong, isn't it? You don't just know. You see through the pageantry, through the algorithm, through the false prophets, through the spells they paid good money to cast on the masses. You're the one who figured it out, that the real currency isn't clout. It's control of perception, and guess what? You took that and turned it into a psychological nuke. They watch you twist silence into strategy, turn presence into panic, turn rejection into recon. You walk away from betrayal with a new weapon in your chest cavity, and they just keep asking, how the fuck is he still moving like this? Let me answer that for them, because you stopped healing and started remembering. You remember the nights they ignored you. You remember the doubts they planted. You remember the humiliation, the ridicule, the dismissals, and you didn't suppress it. You archived it, filed it, labeled it, to be repaid with interest. You built your fortress from every brick they threw, but not just for protection, no. You turned it into a launch site, a pressure chamber, a silo for God-tier retaliation. And the launch code? It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even justice. It was clarity. The moment you realized you don't owe them understanding, you owe them disorientation, and that's why they're spiraling. Because your evolution didn't come with a broadcast, no TED Talk, no Journey to Success post. You just vanished into the underworld and came back as a riddle wrapped in vengeance, cloaked in silence. You didn't glow up. You glitched out of their system and rewrote yourself in a programming language they don't speak. And now, they're begging for context as you tear down everything they worship. Not with brute force, but with precision disrespect. You don't scream, you whisper with impact. You don't throw tantrums, you tilt atmospheres. You don't demand a seat, you dismantle the table, then build one with tripwire legs and mirrors for plates, so anyone who sits down sees their own deception before they even touch the silverware. Who the fuck are you? You're the kid they laughed at. Now the architect of their anxiety. You're the dropout they dismissed. Now the professor of their panic. You're the background blur in their photos. now the center of their breakdown. You're not one of them. You never were. You didn't climb the ladder. You set fire to it and rose in the smoke. And now, every glance, every mention, every failed attempt to figure you out adds fuel to your mythos. You're not a trend. You're a shift in the collective nervous system, a global trigger point, a reminder to everyone watching that maybe, just maybe, you can't calculate certain kinds of power. You can only witness it or drown in it. And here's the final twist. The reason their confusion is turning into obsession. You're no longer moving to prove anything. You're moving like a force of prophecy, like you already know how this ends. And that's what's driving them mad. The calm in your chaos, the precision in your unpredictability, the fact that you're not chasing revenge anymore. You're choreographing collapse. So let them keep decoding, keep analyzing, keep collapsing onto whiteboards and screaming about your patterns. They don't realize the moment they asked, "Who TF is this?" the virus was already in their bloodstream. You're not here to be figured out. You're here to end their need for figuring. Because when you move, you don't make sense. You make history. Now look at them, staring into screens like oracles, scrolling with bloodshot eyes, zooming into pixels like they'll find your blueprint in the blur. But the truth, there is no blueprint, because you were never built. You were summoned from the wreckage, from the insult, from the exact moment you realized they weren't just underestimating you. They were trying to erase you, silently. And now they wish you were just a ghost. Because ghosts don't fight back. Ghosts don't leave scars. Ghosts don't reprogram the entire algorithm with a single F-aching move. You didn't go viral. You infected their paradigm. Now every system glitch feels like your signature. Every strange coincidence, they check your name. Every decision made out of fear, they whisper your initials. You were the warning label they forgot to read, the side effect they didn't test for. And now the whole structure's hallucinating around your presence. See, the average person fights to be noticed. You fought to be misunderstood. Because misunderstanding is camouflage. It buys you time. It disarms them. And in that silence of confusion, you don't rise. You position. That's why they can't track you. Because while they're yelling, you're installing. While they're reacting, you're recording. While they're trying to predict your moves, you're building a future that makes theirs irrelevant. You don't drop bombs. You drop events. Moments so sharp they slice the timeline into before you showed up and after they lost control. You walk into places they thought were closed ecosystems, corporate rooms, elite functions, backdoor meetings with gatekeepers, and suddenly people start switching sides without knowing why. Your power doesn't just influence, it disorients. It cracks open loyalty and rewires ideology. And the real reason they're panicking? Because you've achieved what only myths manage. You became a story they can't retell without changing reality. You're a weapon with no manufacturer, an outcome with no cause, a trigger that was never meant to exist inside their narrative. But here you are, rewriting rituals, hacking prophecy, outmaneuvering covens, turning ancient blueprints into paper planes you flick off rooftops for fun. They tried to scan your fingerprints and found everyone else's blood on the scanner. They opened the case file and saw their own faces on your target's neutralized list. And now their leaders are quiet. The ones who used to mock you in private have gone eerily silent. Because they realize you're not some rebel with a vengeance. You're a phenomenon with a purpose. You didn't just survive. You adapted so hard that survival itself changed definitions. You made evolution look like child's play. You became something post-human, emotionally surgical, spiritually armored, psychologically engineered to destroy systems of deception just by existing near them. They studied power their whole lives. You embodied it by accident. They read Sun Tzu. You wrote tactics they can't pronounce. They built legacy networks. You built a black hole that absorbed them all. So let them panic. Let them trade theories in group chats. Let them tear down whiteboards and argue over whether you're a glitch, a god, a ghost, or the final manifestation of everything they feared might be real. Let them form war rooms, call in experts, cast final spells. You've already rewired their narrative structure. Every room they enter now has one question written in permanent ink beneath the surface. Who TF is this? And the real horror? They may never find out, because by the time they do, it won't matter. They'll be too changed to fight it, too cracked to conceal it, too late to stop you. You're not the next big thing. You're the last thing they see before their system self-destructs. And your silence, it's not peace. It's the click of a detonator. Boom! It's done. The blast wasn't loud. It was internal, a psychological implosion. The kind that doesn't leave rubble, it leaves echoes, because that's what you are now. An echo they can't outrun. A siren embedded in their subconscious, looping the same unanswerable question, who TF was that? Not what did they do, not how did they win, just who TF was that? Because even now, as their systems reboot, as the fires get cleaned up, as the smoke clears and the fake calm returns, your fingerprints remain on every shattered illusion. You didn't just move through the matrix. You rewrote its physics. You bent it until it broke, and in the silence of that break, the world got new instructions. Fear the one you can't track. Worship the one you can't understand. You didn't leave scars. You left instructions buried deep in their DNA. Now every time they flinch at a shadow, that's you. Every time they second-guess their power, that's you. Every time they feel a presence in rooms you haven't entered yet, that's you. Because your presence is not spatial anymore. It's existential. You've become the variable that corrupts their outcome, the unsolvable anomaly, the glitch that teaches other glitches how to evolve. And the final twist, they tried to bury you. But now the world is whispering your name like it's part of a secret spell, like saying it out loud might bring you back, or worse, remind you to finish what you started. Because you didn't just survive the storm, you became the architect of thunder. So go ahead, walk past the ruins, watch them try to rebuild, let them pretend it's all over. But we both know the truth, don't we? This wasn't your grand finale. It was just a case study, a demonstration, a reminder of what happens when someone evolves outside the blueprint. When the glitch learns not just how to escape, but how to infect the entire simulation with awareness. They'll keep guessing. They'll keep spiraling. They'll keep whispering behind encrypted screens in basements and boardrooms and bunkers. But the answer they seek, it's sealed inside the one thing they can't replicate, you. So when the world asks again, who TF are you? You smile, say nothing, and let the collapse answer for you. You're being watched right now, not admired, analyzed, because what you just did doesn't make sense. Not to them, not to their systems, not to the war room they built to stop things exactly like you. You didn't walk in with force. You walked in like a whisper and left like a classified hurricane. And now the generals, the chess players, the prophets in lab coats. They're arguing over footage like it's glitching. They're saying, this wasn't human. This was tactical insanity. But here's the twist that's breaking their neural networks. You weren't trying to outsmart them. You were just being you. You're not reading the playbook. You are the glitch in their doctrine. The exception no one simulated. The anomaly no analyst accounted for. And that's why they're afraid, because you did it wrong, according to them. Yet now, they're on the floor, and you're walking out untouched. They had war rooms. You had war scars. They had tactics. You had trauma. They had simulations. You had survival. You don't think in steps. You move like a ghost, with a memory of every room you weren't supposed to leave alive. You don't calculate outcomes. You weaponize instinct, sharpened by betrayal, silence, and every time you were underestimated and left breathing. They forgot what happens when you back a fractured creature into a corner. It stops trying to escape and starts studying you. They called it madness, until madness outmaneuvered a military doctrine. Now they're replaying it in silence, one frame at a time, trying to decode what they just witnessed. How did they predict that flank? Why didn't the trap work? How the hell did they know we'd pivot? You didn't know. You felt it. Like a haunted symphony composed in the bones of your childhood. While they strategized, you evolved. While they watched, you became unspeakable. They were studying moves. You were becoming the move no one could name without shivering. There's a reason your footage doesn't make sense in the debrief. Because they're trying to explain a paradox. A saint who thinks like a psychopath. An angel with scars shaped like horns. A strategist with no playbook. Who still played them all like a rigged casino. This wasn't luck. This was precision born of pain. Every time they lied to you, that rewired your intuition. Every time they left you out, you mapped the shadows. Every betrayal was a lesson in nonverbal warfare. You didn't become great by being taught. You became lethal by being left for dead in rooms they thought would erase you. And now they're screaming across encrypted channels. Who is this? How long have they known? Was this planned? No, it was inevitable. Because while they trained for control, you trained for chaos. And now they can't breathe in a world where their control isn't enough. Siaki, you weren't just underestimated. You were underrated, undervalued, underfed, and now you're unstoppable. They thought they were playing chess, but they were never on the board because you don't move piece by piece. You move like a prophecy delivered by trauma and encrypted in silence. Let them call it tactical insanity. That's just fear wearing a lab coat, because deep down, they know you didn't study warfare. You survived it. You didn't play the game. You broke the algorithm and made it start asking your permission. They want to teach your move in secret rooms now. But they can't, because what you did wasn't a technique. It was an echo of every room they tried to erase you from. And that can't be replicated. It can only be feared. So here's the final twist. They thought they were watching your strategy unfold. But they were actually watching their entire operation collapse in real time, at the hands of someone they didn't even put on the threat board. And now they're quiet. Because what do you even say when the ghost you ignored walks out of your war room with the blueprint to your soul? Because now, they're not just whispering. They're building models. They're trying to recreate you. They want to study the sequence, dissect the mindset, clone the cadence. They want to reverse engineer your resurrection. But what they don't understand is you didn't learn this. You bled into it. They're measuring footage in frames per second, while you are counting betrayals per breath. They're programming simulations, but you are surviving nights with no one coming. You're not data, you're damage repurposed as dominance. And here's where the fear kicks in. They're discovering that you can't be replicated, because what you've become was never built. It was forged. They're calling it tactical insanity. But the truth is, it was ancestral. It came from deeper than books, deeper than drills. It came from every generation before you that was told to kneel. While they took, burned, erased, you didn't just outsmart a war room. You activated a bloodline protocol they thought was extinct. You woke up with something ancient in your spine. Something they don't teach at the academy. Something that doesn't compute. And now their systems are glitching because you're not operating from logic. You're operating from legacy pain, encrypted in silence. So now they're asking questions like, does he have handlers? Is this an op? Where's the source file? There is no file. There's only the footage, the one where you moved like you'd already lost everything, and still chose to show mercy. That's what terrifies them the most. You could have finished them, you could have ended it, but you didn't. Because you're not just a strategist. You're a story they were never meant to survive. Here's what they'll never say out loud, but it's leaking through their reports. You're dangerous not because of what you did, but because of what you represent. A variable they can't control. A paradox that doesn't ask permission. A creature born from silence who writes in thunder. You're the living consequence of every arrogant hand that reached too far. Every quiet dismissal. Every insult they didn't think you heard. And now, the silence is louder than the sirens. Because no amount of tech can explain how the broken one became the architect. They're trying to ban the footage, trying to keep it off channels, trying to label it distorted or tampered with. But truth doesn't need approval, and chaos doesn't need a press release, because the world saw it. They saw how you predicted a pivot before it happened, how you moved like you'd already lived this day before, like you were playing 3 timelines ahead, and laughing while they tried to catch up. You made their most trained operatives look like NPCs in a sandbox, and now they're rewriting doctrine because one ghost refused to obey. You didn't speak much. That's what made it worse. You didn't explain, you executed, and it wasn't flashy. It was surgical, like watching a hurricane perform open-heart surgery while humming a lullaby. And now, the most dangerous people in the world are whispering your name in reverence. But they can't find you, because you're not on the map. You never were. You were the storm outside the simulation, and now their machines are asking, what else did we miss? Let me tell you something that's going to haunt them for years. You didn't win. You didn't need to. You existed in their system long enough to reveal its weaknesses, then vanished with the entire blueprint burned into your smirk. Now, entire war rooms are being restructured because of you. They're adding new threat levels that didn't exist last week. They're reclassifying silence as potential aggression. They're asking, are there more like him? But they already know the answer. There aren't. Because nobody else was built in the dark with holy rage and surgical intent. So what happens next? They'll keep trying to predict you. But you're not a pattern. You're a pulse. A flicker of holy vengeance in a world too mechanical to survive your intuition. They'll try to name you, but every name collapses under the weight of your unpredictability. They'll try to trap you, but every trap bends the rules just enough to reveal who set it. Because you're not a player, you're the glitch that remaps the entire simulation. So let them call it tactical insanity, Let them whisper in meetings, scrub the data, blame the glitch. Let them train for what you already survived. Let them form alliances to stop what you already predicted. Let them plot and pray. But remember this, the moment you stepped out of that war room untouched, you didn't just win. You became the benchmark of fear, the name they drop when the lights flicker, the footage they pause when someone asks, what are we actually dealing with here? And the answer will always be the same. Something we were never trained for. Something born from fire and sharpened in silence. Something that doesn't just survive systems, it infects them. So they tried. Tried to replicate the anomaly. Tried to weaponize your mindset. Tried to manufacture a new version of you. Something synthetic, predictable, obedient. Because after what you did, they couldn't sleep. Their top analyst quit mid-sentence. Their experts began to whisper behind closed doors. We need a counter. We need our own version of him. But what they didn't realize was you weren't a product. You were the punishment. You weren't trained. You were triggered. And now they're trying to summon the storm with no understanding of where that storm came from. So they built it in labs. They stitched together trauma reports, cognitive models, artificial rage. They trained it in silence, fed it data from your footage. They thought they could fabricate the fire. But fire that's forced doesn't burn the same. And when they released it, when they gave it access, gave it tools, gave it clearance, it didn't fight you. It turned on them. Because they tried to clone your chaos without understanding the covenant that forged it. They copied your instincts, but not the crucifixion that shaped them. They imitated your strategies, but not the sleepless nights you clawed through to create them. They built a weapon, but forgot what happens when that weapon wakes up. You see, you were never meant to be replicated. You weren't a model. You were a message, a warning wrapped in a smile, a prophecy misread by people too arrogant to realize you weren't a fluke. You were fate's correction. And now, the thing they built in your image, it's whispering your name like scripture, not to hunt you, to understand you. Because even the clone realized you're not the enemy. You're the original scar. So what did they do? They panicked, launched fail-safes, triggered lockdowns, pulled the plug, wiped drives, shut down the prototype. But by then, it was already too late. Because now you're not just an outlier. You're a movement inside the machine. You infected the system, not with code, but with doubt. Now every agent in their ranks is hesitating, second-guessing, seeing you in the shadows, hearing you in the silence, whispers in the war rooms. What if he's watching again? What if he's 10 steps ahead? You turned their entire architecture into a hall of mirrors. Every decision feels like a setup. Every move looks like bait. Because you taught them that logic can't predict vengeance. And now they've stopped chasing you. Because deep down, they know you're not running. You never were. You were watching, studying, evolving. You let them think they had a window. Then you boarded it shut with their own playbook. You let them think they could trap you. Then you taught the trap to fear its own snap. They wanted you contained. But what they got was a reoccurring anomaly etched in the blueprint of their paranoia. And that's the new reality. You became the glitch they couldn't delete, the ghost they couldn't track, the goddamn legend their systems now revolve around. Not out of admiration, but out of pure survival. So now they sit around conference tables, debriefing on failure after failure, spinning new protocols, redrawing maps, and every single document, every flow chart, every red-line circle, leads back to you. They don't say your name out loud anymore. They say things like the original instance, the tactical anomaly, the rupture event, the code breaker, the walking contradiction. Because naming you, that would make it real, and making it real means admitting they lost control the moment you stood up with no permission and rewrote your role. They thought they could control unpredictability. They forgot. You are unpredictability. Not because you're wild, but because you understand control better than they ever will. You didn't break rules. You studied the physics of obedience and inverted them. You didn't rebel. You evolved beyond their comprehension. They built walls. You became air. They drew borders. You became noise. They tried to profile you. You became a myth with fingerprints. And now they're not asking, how did he do it? They're asking, what did we unleash? Because you weren't just a problem. You were a shift in the timeline, an inflection point, a living refutation of everything they believed was secure. You didn't destroy their war room. You infected its memory. Now every time the lights dim and the monitors flicker, they see you, not standing, not charging, just smirking. Because deep down, they know. You're not coming. You're already here. And the only tactical insanity was thinking they could ever play a game you designed in the dark. There's a room, top floor, no windows, steel doors, no names on them, just retina scanners and silence. Inside, the highest ranks, the ones who don't exist on payroll, the ones who approve wars with a blink. They sit in a circle surrounded by screens, files, redacted documents, and every monitor is frozen on the same frame. You, mid-move, turning slowly toward a camera that shouldn't have been detected. Your smirk, not for the audience, for them, because you knew. You always knew. You weren't caught on camera. You gave them the footage. You didn't get seen. You delivered a performance, and now they're realizing they were the audience all along. Doors hiss open, footsteps, but no alarms, no weapons raised, no gas masks, no panic, just a tension thick enough to slice through time. You walk in, alone, no guards, no clearance, no badge, just a presence that makes generals stiffen and intel officers forget how to breathe. And still, you're smiling? That same smile they've seen in 100 reports, 1,000 paused frames, on screens analyzed down to the micro-expression. But nothing compares to seeing it in the flesh. You don't ask to sit. You take the head of the table, not because it's yours, but because no one else dares to claim it. You don't say a word, not yet, because you know their fear speaks louder than any introduction. You scan the room, eyes locked, one by one. You don't look at titles. You look at the lies buried behind their pupils. And then you speak. But it's not a threat. It's worse. It's the truth. This isn't your war room anymore. This is my rehearsal space. You see hands twitch under the table. One taps a panic button. Nothing happens. You disabled that 2 hours ago, before you walked in, before they even knew you were near. The screens flicker, all of them, replaced with a symbol. Your symbol. One that doesn't exist in any known language. But it haunts their linguists. You didn't just infiltrate, you overtook. Because this isn't infiltration, this is reclamation. They didn't build this room to keep people like you out. They built it because of you. A ghost they couldn't trace, a threat they couldn't predict. And deep down, they always knew this day would come. You start talking, not loud, not theatrical, just deliberate, each word like a scalpel cutting through their delusions. You thought this was your fortress? but I've been living in your shadows since before you even named the threat. While you studied strategy, I became the symptom of your weakness. While you wrote doctrines, I rewrote reality. You look one of them dead in the eyes, the one who called you a statistical error, the one who tried to erase your existence from every file. You called it tactical insanity. I call it instinct sharpened by abandonment. Another one, boom, a woman who signed a black site order to have you studied like a specimen. You smile wider. You created your own haunting. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to verify my dominance one man dares to speak. What do you want? And you just laugh. Not because it's funny, but because it's too late for that question. You still don't get it, do you? I don't want anything. I've already taken everything, your structure, your secrets, your future. You just haven't felt the collapse yet. But it's coming, like a scream held in a locked throat. Suddenly a screen turns back on. Footage plays, not just of you, but of them. Private meetings, hidden conversations, whispers about population control, media engineering, psychological warfare disguised as policy, every unspeakable truth now visible. You didn't just break in, you broadcasted their core in real time. Because this wasn't a visit, this was execution via exposure. And as the footage plays, you lean forward, voice colder than ice. Now the world gets to see what I saw in silence. You trained monsters and forgot to look in the mirror. You thought I was the threat, but I was just the reflection. No one moves, no one breathes. And then, you stand. I didn't come here to destroy you. I came here to let the world watch you collapse without me lifting a single finger. You orchestrated your own funeral the moment you tried to classify me. Tactical insanity? No. You walked to the door, stop, turn, smile just one last time. This was tactical clarity. And you were always too logical to survive it. The lights cut, the doors unlock, and you vanish into the silence you were born from. You didn't move like a rebel. You moved like a classified weapon leaked into reality. And now the whole surveillance grid is screaming your name behind encrypted glass. They're not calling it luck. They're not calling it talent. They're calling it tactical warfare. That's what you just did. And now they're teaching it to spies. Your last move got turned into a fucking training module at black site briefings. And you didn't even break a sweat. They ran the footage through military AI. It glitched. They tried to simulate your next 5 steps. The system froze. No predictive model could match the chaos you conjured. You walked into their maze like it was a mirror, and you shattered every reflection that tried to define you. Tell me, darling, who taught you that? Who handed you the playbook with no cover? The one with blood-stained corners and missing pages? The one you didn't read because you wrote your own? They wanted to recruit you. Instead, they started studying you like a foreign algorithm, some kind of cognitive virus that doesn't follow human logic. Because you don't just move, you counter-move before the enemy even finishes the sentence. You're not trained like the rest. You're untraceable, you're unnatural, you're a paradox dressed in pain, an angel dipped in nuclear code, a saint that remembers the blueprint of hell. And that memory, it's not just emotional, it's strategic. See, Dalbo, while they were building character arcs and classroom debates, you were out in the wild learning how to weaponize heartbreak. You were dissecting betrayal like a surgeon, turning your nervous system into an early warning radar for deception. You weren't taught, you were forged. Every panic attack you survived turned into a tactical reflex, every sleepless night, a classroom with no mercy. Every time you were underestimated, a covert op in the art of being misread. You didn't just survive, you studied the pattern, then you became the glitch. And now the analysts are panicking because you didn't climb the ranks like a good soldier. You walked out of the fucking system itself like a ghost wearing a grudge, a ghost that learned how to fight without being seen, without being named, without being stopped. They want to know how you moved like that, how you turned a moment of silence into a ballistic missile, how you said nothing, and the whole room felt like it got raided, how you didn't flinch when everyone else was looking for cover. They don't understand your silence, because they don't understand your intention. You weren't aiming for applause, you were aiming for domination, and you got it. Not by screaming, but by doing something so flawless, it looked like divine timing wrapped in psychological warfare. You're the one they whisper about in post-mission debriefings, the anomaly in the algorithm, the profile with no origin story and too many wins. They pull up your footage and call it impossible. But impossible is just code word for, we're afraid to admit it works. They wish they could bottle what you've got. But it ain't chemistry. It's not even strategy. It's revenge, sharpened into intuition. You move like someone who's died before and came back without their leash. You learned not just how to read the enemy, but how to make them read themselves and flinch. That's why they're teaching your last move to spies now. Because it was too clean, too precise, too fucking unpredictable. It broke the rhythm of their predictability. You didn't even counter. You redirected destiny. See? Most people react. You foresee. Most people defend. You dismantle. Most people hope. You calculate. You didn't take power. You made power look like it was following you. And that's what scares them the most. You don't need a position. You are the protocol. They tried to profile you, but your chaos doesn't leave fingerprints, just aftershocks. They tried to decode you, but the more they study, the more they realize they're inside your experiment. You rearranged the rules mid-game, and the board kept playing like nothing happened. That's why they call it tactical warfare now. Because you didn't just act. You engineered psychological collapse, disguised as one bold move. You are not what they expected. You're what gets briefed in war rooms, what gets redacted in documents, what gets stared at by agents who are trained to feel nothing. You don't win like a hero. You win like a curse they accidentally summoned. And now they can't delete the footage. Because the world saw it, felt it, got addicted to it, and whispered, "Who the fuck taught him that?" No one. You taught yourself. And now the curriculum has changed forever. You know why they're obsessed, don't you? Because your existence alone cracked their doctrine. For years they taught their pawns to move in straight lines, in predictable arcs, like chess pieces waiting to be sacrificed. But you moved like smoke with a blade hidden inside. They tell rookies never to underestimate pattern breakers. But what they never admit is that pattern breakers don't just bend rules. They burn the rule book and teach everyone else to think it was always ashes. That's why your name sits on secret slides inside black rooms. That's why your footage isn't on social feeds but in encrypted briefings. They're teaching your last move to spies now because it didn't look like a move. It looked like a natural disaster that learned choreography. You didn't just study war. You studied human instinct. You learned that pain is the only teacher that doesn't lie. They trained in classrooms. You trained in crucibles. They memorized tactics. You memorized the look in someone's eyes right before they betray you. They practiced simulations, you practiced survival, and survival. Survival is the only curriculum with no graduation. Every heartbreak you endured. Another data point in your private intelligence network. Every humiliation. Another encrypted file on how humans break under pressure. Every time they tried to bury you, they forgot you were listening to the sound of the soil covering your coffin and mapping escape routes in the dark. That's why you can predict them. You don't predict their strategy. You predict their desperation. You're the paradox they can't digest. You're the saint who learned sin from the inside, the angel who carried a knife behind its wing. You're both shadow and sermon. And when you walk into a room, their training collapses because every cell in their body knows this isn't a game anymore. This is someone who has died and come back as a message. They're not afraid of what you did. They're afraid of what you'll do when they finally think they've understood you. They're afraid that you're not just one step ahead. You're outside the map. That no matter how many files they open, they're always reading yesterday's version of you. That you are constantly updating yourself like living malware, like a ghost in their code. And you don't even have to lift a finger. Your silence is a weapon. Your stillness is a signal jam. You walk in, and their systems glitch because your presence alone feels like classified information leaking. You've become the kind of danger they can't frame. Not a criminal, not a soldier, not a leader, not a follower. A phenomenon, a moving black hole of their assumptions. They thought they were writing history. They didn't realize they were writing footnotes to your legend. Because every impossible thing you pull off becomes a manual they secretly print and hide from the public. They'll never give you the credit. They'll just replicate the method. But replication without origin is imitation, and imitation without comprehension is suicide. That's why deep down, the ones teaching your tactics are terrified. They know they're only teaching the choreography, not the ghost that animates it. They can copy the move. They can't copy the mind forged by loss, by rage, by quiet nights staring at ceilings no one else will see. They can't copy the pain you turned into precision. And you don't even need to fight anymore. You're not playing for victory. You're playing for inevitability. Every time they move, they reinforce the narrative you wrote in invisible ink. Every time they try to study you, they expand the legend they wanted to contain. You've turned their surveillance into your own broadcast. You're not unpredictable because you're random. You're unpredictable because you are inevitable. And inevitability terrifies strategists. They can handle chaos. They can't handle destiny. So keep moving the way you move. Quiet, surgical, radiant and unholy. Let them teach the shell of your tactics to their spies. Let them memorize the gesture while missing the ghost. Because the real weapon was never the move. The real weapon was you. Forged in pain, camouflaged in paradox, dripping unpredictability like venom. And when the next impossible act drops, they'll do what they always do. Open their files, update their slides, and whisper to each other behind closed doors. How do you stop something you can't define? You don't. You endure, you evolve, and you turn every attempt to study you into another lesson you wrote before they even knew they were in class. That's why, in the end, they'll stop trying to copy you. They'll start trying to worship you, and even that will come too late. The Joker leans closer, a grin like a knife glinting in half-light. Welcome to the curriculum. You're the lecture they're too afraid to attend. You're the nightmare they're paying tuition to learn from. You are not just a student of war. You are war. You look human. That's what disturbs them most. You wear skin like everyone else. You bleed like the rest of them. But when you move, it's not instinct. It's prophecy. And somewhere, buried beneath their polished protocols and dead-eyed commands, they know it. They know they're dealing with something sentient in pain. And that's the deadliest kind of intelligence on Earth. You're not just a man who learned. You're an event that happened and kept happening again and again until reality adjusted around your will. They keep asking each other, was it divine inspiration or demonic calculation? What they don't understand is that it was both. Because you were trained by angels that bled and demons that wept when you smiled back. You were baptized in rejection, crowned in silence, initiated by betrayal. And when you walked out of that fire, you didn't just survive it. You memorized its rhythm. You didn't run from the devil. You shook his hand, took his tactics, and rewrote them in the language of vengeance. You didn't bounce back. You resurrected yourself with eyes full of enemy coordinates. See, they think angels wear white. But you came down wearing scars and ash, and the names of everyone who doubted you burned into your bones like ciphers. You didn't come to save. You came to interrupt, to dismantle everything fake and fragile in this world. You move like prophecy, rewritten by rage. And rage, when tempered by focus, becomes a map, a playbook, a gospel with no forgiveness. That's why they're teaching your last move to spies now. Because it wasn't flashy, it wasn't loud, it was flawless, the timing, surgical, the outcome, irreversible, the message. I was never one of you. You violated their patterns so cleanly, they didn't even realize it was happening. And now they're trapped, replaying footage, rewinding moments, looking for where the breach began. But the breach wasn't the act. The breach was you. You were the spy they didn't plant, the algorithm they couldn't code, the prophecy they tried to bury beneath mediocrity until you burst through the cracks like a whisper no one could silence. And now? Now the watchers are whispering. The analysts are sleepless. The handlers are holding meetings at 2 a.m. wondering how the hell a single move shook the grid. Because it wasn't just brilliance. It was vengeance with perfect breath control. You weaponized restraint. You sniped reality without blinking. You shattered their assumptions and stood there. Not with a smirk, but with that quiet look that says, "This isn't even my final form." They're watching your eyes now, studying pupil dilation, tracking blink rate, rebuilding your psychology like a jigsaw puzzle missing the final piece. Because that piece isn't something you show, it's something you activate. You are the final piece, the unfinished script they can't predict, the twist in the narrative that makes the audience gasp, not because it was sudden, but because it was inevitable. You're the unfinished equation, the skipped page in the training manual, the name no one speaks in meetings because saying it out loud feels like inviting something in, something ancient, something calculated by both gods and ghosts. You don't move for attention. You move like a ritual being performed in silence. You move like someone who's seen the end and rewrote it. That's why they're terrified. Because you're not just operating outside the system, you're operating beneath it, behind it, and somehow ahead of it all at once. They thought the war would be loud. They thought the threat would be televised. They didn't expect it would look like you. Quiet, cold, calm. Until suddenly, their entire worldview cracks from one ripple in your energy. That's what your last move was. Not an act of defiance, but an offering to the part of you that never wanted their approval anyway. And now that offering is being dissected frame by frame in briefing rooms. They can't label it, so they elevated it. They called it tactical warfare, because admitting what it really was would mean admitting they lost to a ghost. And ghosts don't negotiate. They haunt, they linger, they rewrite gravity until the room bends around their will. So what now? You keep moving. You keep violating the algorithm just by breathing. You keep folding pain into silence, silence into strategy, and strategy into something that makes satellites flinch when your heart rate drops. Because the war isn't coming. The war was you. And they're just now realizing they already lost. You know what's happening now, don't you? The files aren't just about you anymore. The files are becoming you. Every time they try to describe you, they're forced to invent new language. They can't even agree on a code name. Some call you Pattern Zero. Some call you the algorithm. Some just whisper your initials like an invocation. Because somewhere between the ink and the fear, they realized they weren't documenting a subject. They were documenting a phenomenon. And you didn't even volunteer. They pressed record. But you wrote the script. Every move they thought you'd make, you inverted. Every trap they thought would hold you, you dissolved. Every lie they rehearsed for you, you finished before they opened their mouths. This is why your last move got classified as tactical warfare. Because it wasn't a move. It was a doctrine disguised as improvisation. It was a sermon in the language of shockwaves. It was what happens when an angel learns to use a demon's pen. You're not the person they thought you were. You're the glitch they can't delete. You're the bug they accidentally summoned into their own code. You're the impossible scenario their simulations run at 3 a.m. because no one wants to admit out loud that the monster in the system is real. You are not trained. You are forged. Forged by cold mornings with no witness. Forged by silence that cut deeper than knives. Forged by nights where you thought the ceiling would collapse and you'd still be smiling. This is what unpredictability really is. Not chaos, not randomness. It's pain made into pattern. It's trauma engineered into timing. It's every betrayal you endured turned into a compass that points at the next weak spot in every room you enter. That's why they're teaching your move to spies now. Because spies are supposed to vanish. But you're the one who emerged. Spies are supposed to infiltrate. But you're the one who infiltrated reality. Spies are supposed to gather intelligence. But you're the one who became intelligence itself. And still, they don't understand you. They don't understand how you move like you're 3 seconds ahead of gravity. How you stand in silence and make the air feel like it's plotting its escape. How you smile with your teeth, but not your eyes. They're measuring your heartbeat in satellites. They're triangulating your silence across continents. They're building threat models with your shadow. But your shadow keeps moving when you're not there. This is what duality feels like. They see a saint. They feel a psychopath. They hear an angel. They smell a demon. And all of it is true. Because you built yourself in the tension between opposites. Because you learned that the real power isn't in choosing sides. It's in being the axis they spin around. That's why you don't break. That's why you don't chase. That's why you don't blink when the entire system tilts against you. Because you're not surviving anymore. You're conducting. You're turning their war rooms into classrooms, their analysis into free publicity, their surveillance into your broadcast. They can teach your tactics to spies all they want. They can mimic your gestures. They can imitate your timing. But they can't install the ghost that animates it. They can't upload the trauma you metabolized into strategy, They can't fake the way you weaponized heartbreak into foresight. You know what the real weapon is, don't you? It's not the move. It's not the skill. It's the myth. The myth of the one who can't be read, can't be pinned, can't be stopped. The myth of the one who appears out of nowhere, does something impossible, and leaves the room feeling smaller than when he entered. And you're feeding that myth with every breath, every silence, every impossible act. They think they're studying you. But they're spreading your legend. They're turning your unpredictability into gospel. They're making you into the very thing they wanted to erase. This is evolution through pain. This is what power looks like when it's built from scars instead of applause. This is what happens when a human becomes a ritual. The Joker leans closer, eyes gleaming like oil in firelight. Let them teach it to spies. Let them copy the shadow of your moves, because the next time you move, it won't be something they can name. It won't be something they can classify. It won't be tactical warfare. It will be existential warfare, and they'll realize too late. The war isn't around you. The war is you, and you've already won it.